Hi there and welcome to MyArtCube. My name is Natalie. Today I'll be discussing supplies that you might want for nature journaling. So which supplies should we consider first? Well, there's a lot of choices. First of all, you want to get started with maybe some writing utensils, and so that's going to vary depending on what you're looking for. Here I have some Prismacolor pencils that are colored pencils. I also have some graphite pencils and erasers. So those are the basics that I'm using. Here you'll see I'm showing you the Graph Gear 500 by Pentel. It's a 0.7 pencil. It's a click pencil. And I also use and prefer to use a Mono Zero eraser by Tombow. It's clickable and retractable, so very handy for details, erasing details. And I like to use this softer eraser called the Moo eraser. It's a professional eraser. It's good for watercolor paper. If you want this instead of a kneaded eraser, both would work for watercolor paper, because watercolor paper is fragile, so when you're erasing, it's just something you want to be cautious with. I've also chosen for my kit for my nature journal to carry a couple blending stumps with me as well as a watercolor brush. Now these have fillable handles that you can squeeze the water out as you use your watercolor palette. Additionally, I like to take fine liners with me. In this case, I'm using Faber-Castell's Pitt Artist pens. They use India ink, which is waterproof ink, so it's very handy. And these guys are just essential in my opinion. Just any fine liners are essential. But you can make your kit out of whatever you have, whatever supplies you have. Those supplies are good enough to start. So all you need is something to write or paint with and a journal, and you can get started. Here I've got a straight edge as well. I use that for the journaling portion since I tend to write at a slanted angle. I just enjoy using a straight edge for certain things and to straighten out my writing. For my paint palette, I'm actually going to take 2 cups with me. They're expandable cups. These are by Faber-Castell as well, and they are really handy. They collapse down for travel, and I have 2 because I want one for changing my watercolors, rinsing out the brush for new colors, and a second for clean water. And also I'm showing you right now that the edge of the rim is got these little ruffles in it that helps hold your brush in place, which is pretty handy. And it collapses back down. And I also tend to take this little plastic palette with me. You can get this at an art or craft store really cheap. They're very affordable, probably under $1 or somewhere around $1. I also tend to bring a couple other things with me. Sometimes I bring mixing charts with me. So in this case, I have a color mixing guide. It's pretty handy. If you're not real familiar with mixing colors, these are useful. There's also a color wheel that you can use. But the primary colors are going to be red, blue, and yellow. So you want at least the primary colors in your paint set and in your pencil set if you're using colored pencils or watercolor paint or gouache. Here I've got a watercolor paint palette. You don't need this many colors to start out. It's not necessary. This has 2 different mixing surfaces, so you can obviously mix your paints in these areas. It's pretty handy. But this color palette I made out of my tube paints. It's my spring palette, and I have a lot of really bright colors in addition to the primary colors. So the primaries again being red, blue, and yellow. So I also have a lot of pinks and purples and different things that are just convenience colors for me, but you could mix them from the primaries. And so I'm just pointing out some of my favorites right now. Those pinks are really vibrant. It's hard to get a vibrant pink by watering down a red. So I just advise having a few convenience colors that you know are your favorites. And let's put that away. Okay. So let's talk colored pencils. Colored pencils are obviously a good option. They're a dry media, so it's very convenient. If you just get a set of 12, it'll include the primaries plus several convenience colors. And you can sketch away while you're out in the field, observing nature in person. And I like this because it is a dry media, so if I'm out sketching, this is easier and more convenient than watercolor. I tend to want to do more watercolor when I'm at home, after I've taken pictures or video of something that I want to capture. But a 12 set is big enough, so a set of 12 colored pencils will work out just fine if you're interested in colored pencils. Additionally, with the colored pencils, you also want a sharpener. I'll talk about that a little bit later because not all pencil sharpeners will sharpen a colored pencil. Colored pencils tend to be a little thicker than graphite pencils, so we'll get to that later. But right now, I'd like to discuss one of the key features that you need, key items that you need for a nature journal, which is obviously a journal. So any kind of watercolor journal that's hot press is very convenient because you could use both dry media and watercolor in it. There's a lot of mixed media journals out there that you can buy for mixed media art that would work for a nature journal. Right now I'm using Arteza. I think I'm saying that correctly. Maybe it's Arteza. But anyway, I'm using 2 sizes of Arteza watercolor notebooks, or should I say journals. And that smaller size, I know they still offer on Amazon, and it also has a little band that goes along the side. You can see that keeps it closed. But yeah, these are very convenient, easy to use. They're only 110-pound watercolor paper though, but they don't buckle too badly. And they have both a smooth side and a textured side, so I enjoy them because on the textured side, I'll do my watercolors, and on the smooth side, I'll do the dry media like pencil sketches, colored pencil sketches as well. Anything with pen and ink on the smooth side works out pretty well. And there's the bigger one. Now this one is, I don't know if they still offer it on Amazon. I'd have to double check, but I didn't see it last time I looked. But anyway, this is the Arteza 8.3 inch by 11.7 inch 110-pound premium watercolor book. It has 64 pages, so this has a lot of mileage to it. You can use this for quite a while, depending on how quickly you fill your pages. This is cold pressed, but like I said, it's dual-sided, so one side is rough, or not really rough, but textured for watercolor usage, and the other side is smooth. So the other side being smooth is good for sketches, like I have these sketches on this one side. But these sides I'm showing you right now of the pages are both textured. Even with the texture, I did do the purple flower on the left in colored pencils, and that came out just fine. But right now I'm just showing again that smooth side versus the textured side. You can't see the texture obviously without a close-up, but it's just regular cold press watercolor paper. And yeah, so basically you definitely want to get yourself a journal that matches the media you're using. if you like to use watercolors for nature journaling, or you think you'd be interested, just definitely have that foresight of getting a hot pressed, smooth-sided, or you could get the cold press if you're just going to do watercolors for the most part, media journal. And so basically, when you're looking for a journal, you want to make sure that you know what kind of materials you might want to use in the future, so you could kind of future-proof your journal. That's why I kind of suggest a mixed media journal, because it can use both wet media like gouache and watercolors on it, but you can also do dry media like pencil sketches, charcoal sketching, colored pencils, whatever you like. So, yeah, if you're just going to do dry media and you're sure you're never going to use any wet media like gouache or watercolors, you could just go with like a moleskin or some kind of just sketching or drawing journal, and that would work just fine for a nature journal. Here I'm just showing I did the nature part in watercolors, but those two fonts above and below, Natalie's and Journal, those words were done in watercolor markers, and they didn't bleed through, so that was a pleasant surprise. They didn't bleed through at all. So what else can I tell you about? Oh, I said I would get to the sharpener, the pencil sharpener as well, but I'll get to that in just a minute. But yes, so you want a journal for sure. The size you want to take is up to you. You could go with a smaller journal or a larger journal, just depending on what your needs are. Portability is a thing if you're taking these out into the field and you want to have something that travels well. So that's just something to consider. So I mentioned that for colored pencils, you need a different kind of sharpener quite often. And the larger size sharpener is provided with this Faber-Castell sharpener I have. It's got a colored pencil slot, a jumbo slot, and a graphite pencil sharpener. So there's 3 sizes attached to this sharpener, and it's really convenient. It clicks shut, so you know when it's closed properly, and it's just a great little sharpener. It's lightweight, it's portable, good for taking with you. Now for watercolor brushes, you can use the travel brushes. You could use travel brushes, you could use water brushes, or you could just use regular standard watercolor brushes. You just want to make sure the bristles don't get messed up in your backpack or whatever bag or mode of transportation for all your supplies that you're using. But I would advise getting at least a number 6 round if you are going to do watercolors. A number 6 round is very versatile. Also a number 8 round. Right now I'm showing you a fine liner, not a fine liner, a liner brush rather. And that liner brush will give me fine details. I also have a 1/4 inch flat brush there. I think it's an angled flat. But in any case, those are the brushes that I've been using recently. And I just wanted to reemphasize that the kind of journal you purchase is going to depend on, of course, things like the size you want, the budget you're looking at. If you don't want to be too precious about it, you can get a more affordable journal, especially since you're going to take it outside in the elements, and you don't want to take a really super expensive journal outside unless of course that's an expense you can afford and you don't mind risking it. But I like affordable journals, and for taking outside. I just had that forethought that if it actually accidentally falls in the mud or something, I'm not going to cry. But hopefully it doesn't fall in the mud. But yes, so this is the setup or kit I would put together for a nature journal. Well, thank you for visiting the channel. I hope you had a great time, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.